Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us here on Prime Morning. We're still live on Joy Prime Television. Time now for good living. I know that the rains are here. You probably are in distress. You're not too sure whether to go to work or not. You still have an hour to get to 9 a.m. But let's do this. What have you been eating at all? So this morning, I've got a Rosie Mensah. She's a registered dietitian. We want to help you. I need help myself, but she would help you specifically on dieting adaptations and its health implications. Let's understand what dieting is and what dieting adaptation is. I'm sure you hear a lot, I'm on diet. I've been on diet all my life. I'm still the way I am. So let's understand what dieting is and then what dieting adaptations are. Hi, Rosie, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you enjoying Ghana?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have you experienced our flood?
Yes.
Where? Where did you come from this morning?
So I'm in Spintex in Tema.
Okay.
And so I haven't seen rain like that before, ever.
Welcome to Ghana. Are you adapting?
I'm adapting in many ways.
Okay. Tell us, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know what dieting is, top of our mind. I know that when I pick and choose what I have to eat is dieting. That's my definition of it. But what is dieting? And then you help us put it together, dieting adaptation.
Sure. So when it comes to dieting, you can think about it as a restriction of certain foods. So you are thinking about what you can't have versus thinking about what can I add to my diet. So you're limiting what you can intake. So often people go on things called yo-yo diets where they do one diet, then it works for a bit and then it stops working and then they go on another one and they keep going like up and down, up and down. So we see that a lot. It's very common, that experience. And in terms of adaptations, a lot of people now are choosing to do something different. They want something more sustainable. They want something that they can maintain over a long period of time and not just up and down, different food experiences.
Okay, so it's not good enough to just be dieting and just adapting to anything at all. I mean, you have to be intentional about it. Okay, so what are some of the food adaptations that are not good for us? Let's cut to the chase. Let's pretend we know what is good. But what are some of the food adaptations that are not good, for ourselves? Right. Yeah.
So as a dietitian, I like to say that there's no such thing that's like a good or a bad food necessarily. It's about how you're consuming it, how it's prepared, and how often you're having it. But some things that you do want to pay attention to what you're having is more of those highly processed foods. So a lot of, the chain fast food restaurants that are coming a lot more in Ghana now, you want to be mindful of how much you're consuming those foods. Other things include beverages, so things that have a lot of sugar and they don't really have many other nutrients. So you want to be mindful of those items. A lot of the time they are more convenient. So, everyone's starting to get busier, things like that. They're choosing more convenient items, but you want to be mindful of them because a lot of the nutrition is actually removed from them to make them more convenient.
Oh. But it tastes good though.
It does, and that's why people like it so much.
What can I replace? Because I still want to keep my sweet tooth, and what can I replace with them? I mean, I don't want to lose the taste in my mouth simply because I want to stay healthy. But what can I replace with them? Yeah.
Exactly, and you don't have to, and that's the great thing. So, for example, if we're looking at drinks and let's say fizzy sodas and pops, things like that, opt for fruit juices, natural juices without any added sugar. You're still getting that sugar fix, but these are natural sources that have a lot of minerals and vitamins.
But it's sustainable. It's very sustainable.
I would say so.
Okay. There's nothing I can do to make, because I've tried it. Like you said, the yo-yo dieting. I'm very serious Monday to Sunday. But next week I'm breaking down and I'm craving so much for some chilled soda, very chilled on with some ice in there. What can I do to this natural juice that you're recommending for me to feel that fulfillment in my mouth? What can I do?
Honestly, I say have those things more often. So when you're restricting yourself of certain foods, you crave them so much. That's why, you're describing you'll be good for the week, but then after you're just craving it so much. It's because you limited yourself for so long and now that's all you're thinking about. You're preoccupied with it. So the more you have certain foods, the less you'll start to want them because you know that they're accessible to you.
Okay.
So even when it comes to the juices, have them more often. So for example, I really like pineapple juice. So sometimes I'll opt for pineapples instead of just the juice, because with the pineapples you're actually getting other things like fiber, which is important as well for the body.
Okay.
So try to have them, don't restrict yourself, but pay attention to the way you're consuming it.
Okay, but why is this a concern? Is there a statistic to say that people are eating junk food and all of that in high numbers? Is it a worry?
It is a worry, because as the world becomes more globalized and more urban and people are living in bigger cities, people are tending to choose more convenience items. People are working longer hours, people are not preparing meals at home. And I think there has been a huge shift since the pandemic where people were doing a lot of ordering, a lot of takeout. And often, people are not ordering salads, right? People are ordering a lot of like high calorie, high fat, high sodium foods that aren't helpful to the body over a long term in long amounts. So there is a shift happening where people are tending to want to have more of those foods, which does relate to a lot of chronic illnesses, and specifically things like hypertension, heart disease, diabetes. And we're seeing this more and more in younger children and adults.
Why?
Because of the way people are eating, the lifestyles are changing. People are not as active anymore.
I would have thought that you'd start to experience the repercussions after you're grown. If you're young, you start eating a lot of junk, you start getting the hypertension in your late years. That's what I would have thought, the norm. So why are young people experiencing it now? Well, it's too soon.
It is, and look at how habits are changing. A lot of us are always on our devices all the time. We're not moving around. People are like, I'm from Canada, and I see this a lot where there'll be small children that know how to use an iPad perfectly. What I mean? They know everything, but they're not playing outside anymore.
Okay.
So there's shifts into our lifestyle, to the things that we're eating. People are not preparing meals at home as much anymore. And again, a lot of the foods that we are opting to eat are not as nutritious. So you tend to develop these diet-related chronic illnesses earlier in life.
What would you say about people who try to use dieting to lose weight? Listen, Rosie, it's very depressing. I've tried it a lot of times, and I'm always in the mirror. I'm in front of the mirror because I'll go on a diet for 2-3 weeks, and I'm hoping to lose weight. I mean, there's somebody watching me now. Amma probably watching me now says that, but I'm still not losing weight. Is dieting really a sure way to lose weight?
No. I'm gonna say no, and I know that's like a loaded thing to say, but like I said, if you're restricting yourself of certain things, this is not sustainable. The goal is to make lifelong changes, that it's a lifestyle change, not just a diet. So I think the issues with dieting is that people aren't intentional about it. So people are wanting to maybe change their body, but not thinking about like their health. It's more about the physical appearance, but not how do you feel inside. And often that sort of mindset is not sustainable over the long term. And this is why, you can meet people who have been dieting for like 20, 30, 40 years and still are not getting the results that they want because they actually haven't learned about nutrition. They just focus on what they need to remove, not what they're adding to their diet, so that they can sustain it over a long time.
Okay. I noticed that when I'm depressed, I eat a lot. And I eat all the worst foods that I know. My mind is telling me that this is terrible, but I eat. Are you able to draw a link between depression and eating all sorts of things?
So a big part of my work is looking at emotional eating and mental health and nutrition.
What is that?
So emotional eating is basically what you're describing. Okay. You're having an emotional experience, but you're turning to food to cope with that emotion. So if you're feeling depressed, it's not a physiological hunger that you're craving. It's an emotional hunger because there's something else going on. There's a root to that issue. It's not that you want like cookies or something. You want to fix whatever that other issue is, but people tend to turn to food because it makes them feel good. And it can give you that, that satisfaction instantly. Whereas dealing with the issue that whatever it may be, let's say it's like relationship problems or issues at work, is not necessarily going to get solved right away. So people want to just deal with it in a way they know how, which brings them joy. And food is comforting, and so they turn to it. So that's emotional eating. That's one side actually, because emotional eating can also be when you're happy. You know, people want to just, you know, or like even when we're describing like dieting, cheat days, you know, cheat days, they're like, okay, I did so well this week, I'm gonna have a cheat day, becomes a cheat week, then a cheat month, you know? So that's also emotional because it's tied to the feelings you have about yourself.
Okay. So if somebody walked to you as a dietitian and says that, listen, I feel that craving to eat all sorts of food every day, I don't want the healthy ones. At least the person is being able to identify the ones that are not healthy.
Right. And
it's coming clean and says that, listen, I sort of radiate towards the food that's really junk, the carbonated ones, the fries and all of that. What are you likely to do for that person?
So this is where I kind of turn more into like an investigator. I'm starting to ask questions like, why do you feel this way? What else is going on? Because a lot of the issue is not even about the food to begin with. There's so many other factors going on that are, you know, leading people to eat that way. So if someone came to me describing, you know, I just don't want them, it's not necessarily that they don't like it, they just maybe are not craving it, or there's something else going on. Because if they have an awareness that these foods are good for me and yet they're still not eating them, I think there's something else going on. You know, a lot of people, you know, struggle with even having enough money to buy certain foods, right? Yeah. So they may know what's great for them, but they just can't afford it. Other people are dealing with like the emotional part where there's other things, you know, and they just want to soothe their feelings with food that they know they enjoy. And then there's other people who are just not well educated on, you know, healthy food. So there's a lot of different things going on. So I would investigate the situation if someone came to me and to try to figure out what is the root here.
Okay, I'll take you back. See, there's a huge challenge with you wanting to eat what's healthy, but you're unable to. I know people who are not able to eat salads, vegetables. I'd say, let me even just say vegetables. They say just put it in your mouth, chew it and swallow it, but it's not that simple. Sometimes you force and you want to puke. Have you had customers like that?
Oh yeah, and I think it's because you're not eating what you want to eat, right? So I think sometimes, so let me clarify actually. So are these people, they're able to get food or they can't, they don't have access to it?
They have access to it. So typical, you go to the restaurants and then that's maybe side meal or side food of salads. There's carrots, there's all sorts of vegetables. You just can't eat it.
Right.
It's difficult to eat it. You know, you want to eat it, but you just can't eat it. What is it?
I think you just don't like them, those foods, and that's okay.
It starts from childhood, like, you know, they put in you pick it aside, you don't want to eat, and then you grow with it. And how would you be able to adapt? Because you know that is good for you. How would you be able to adapt to that?
I say you have to start with things that you like.
I have. Okay, so I'm not talking about me. I have. I've tried it all. You know, they say eat it simple, eat in bits and all of that. It just is not. It's just not something.
It's just not giving. So, are there any that you do like?
Of course, it's soda. Yeah.
So I think you have to, again, it's kind of the same advice that you've heard before, but start small and pick the ones that you like. Just try one at a time.
Okay.
One at a time. I think there's often this idea that we have to eat certain vegetables, certain fruits. They all provide us with amazing nutrition, but if you don't like them, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience.
Okay. I'd come back, but I'd open the phone line. She can call and then ask all of your questions. 0302211693 or 94. We're still taking questions on what's happening in your area. But if you've got any question on how it's been very difficult for you to adapt to a diet plan, Rosie is here. This is free consultation. She just might, you know, help you. Okay? So call us on 0302211693 or 94. If you're unable to eat the fresh vegetables, you know, whether it's on the side of the meal or inside of the meal, could you replace it with supplements? Could you get the same? Could you get the same nutrients you're getting in fresh carrots if you went for supplement that says that it's got carrots in there?
Ooh, that's a good question. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't think it's okay, personally as a dietitian, I try to suggest people have the actual food, because you may be able to get certain nutrients, but the actual food provides you with things like fiber and other things that you're not going to necessarily get in a supplement form. So perhaps, I don't know enough to say, but I think if you're able to have the actual food, go for it versus a supplement. Like the whole point of a supplement is to supplement
what you didn't have.
Exactly.
Or what you have already, actually. It will add up to what you already have. Okay.
So instead of making that the main thing, it's supposed to be a supplement to maybe, you're not having enough of something.
Okay.
So I suggest that, you opt for the actual food before turning to the supplement.
Okay. Because emotional dieting is one of your forte or your strength that you know a lot about, are there meals you're able to recommend to somebody who's depressed to make them happy?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I'm going to say it again, fruits and vegetables.
Really?
They're very good for you. They have so many nutrients that you need for your mood and everything like that. And they're just, okay, often when it comes to emotional eating as well, it's like a cycle. So for example, let's say you're an emotional eater. You know that you shouldn't be eating certain foods. And I say shouldn't because I don't want to label anything like good or bad. So let's say you wanted to reach this goal, but you didn't achieve it. Then you emotionally eat. Then you become depressed, right? Then you are depressed, so you emotionally eat. So it becomes this cycle. So you're like, oh, I already ate this way. I might as well keep going. Okay. So it becomes this whole cycle. So nourishing your body with healthy foods can actually help improve your mood, because you feel better about what you're putting into your body and how you're nourishing yourself.
Okay, so it's not like, okay, there's a particular food or vegetable out there. It's okay, because you're depressed, I prescribe 2 carrots, 3, cucumber for you. It's not like that.
No.
It's a cycle where
there's certain things like some berries, nuts, and things like that do support, your mood. But the thing is, having a balanced and varied diet is the best option, I would say.
Okay, 2 genders on a diet, male, female. Do you have special meal plans or sort of diets for them? For a woman, I clearly want my hair growing nicely and all of that. So would you say that the diet plan for a woman, or even a woman at a certain age, is different from what you recommend?
Oh, that's a really good question. And it's very individualized. So it really depends on the individual. So I think that's what I really love about my field as a dietitian. We focus on individuals and trying to make sure that you have the best plan for you. So men and women have different needs, but individuals have different needs as well. So if I was to work with someone, it would be based on them, not necessarily generalizing it.
Okay. Do you get the question where they say, if you're on a diet, or not even particular diet, but you're supposed to eat a particular time in the day, where they say, oh, breakfast is the most important meal in the day, don't eat a certain time and all of that. Is this true?
That's a good question, and I think I'm actually having to learn more about it myself, because it really depends on the person. So I was taught that you should eat 5 small meals a day.
Okay, we'll explore that. Have you been to Kumasi before?
I have.
Okay, let's go again. We're talking to Susan from Kumasi. Hi, Susan. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Susan. Thank you for calling us.
Thank you.
Okay, please go on.
Please, I'll ask the dietitian. Let's say I'm a blood group O positive.
Okay.
What are the positive or the good food for me and the bad ones, so I'll know which to take and which not to take?
Okay, Susan, very, very good question. So eating according to your blood group or your blood type.
That's a really good question, and this might not be the best answer for Susan, but I don't know if there's enough research to support that way of eating based on your blood type. So I think there's a lot of different information about nutrition and how you should eat, but in terms of blood type, I don't know if there's enough research to support eating based on that.
Okay.
Again, going back to the basics, I think people want to complicate things when we don't really need to. We know that, proteins, lean proteins, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, things like that, not having such processed foods, those things work.
For general blood groups.
For everyone.
Okay.
So I think starting there and then getting support based on your unique needs.
Okay. A lot of people are on keto. I've got, my director here has got his wife on keto. What is keto and how good is it and how safe is it?
Yeah. Keto is a really low carb, high fat diet. It's a diet again. So honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. So I guess it depends on who you would ask. But I think, again, it's going back to being intentional about what you're eating. Like, why are you on keto? Keto was a diet created for people living with, I believe it was as epilepsy, like a specific health condition to help them. So people have adopted it now because of its effects on weight and how it can reduce your weight.
Give me a minute. Let's go to Bujumbura and talk to Bernard. We'll revisit the keto conversation. Hi, Bernard.
Morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling. Yeah.
Thanks for the show.
Okay.
Okay. Please, I've heard a dietitian talk about nutrients being in food. Yeah, that interests me most because one of my favorite soup is palm soup.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what I want to please understand is, would it be right for me to have my palm soup and take it for about 4 or 5 days, always put it in the fridge, remove it, heat it, and eat it until it becomes, when it is
Okay.
small in the pot. That's when we feel that the taste is always right.
Right. What are you eating your palm nut soup with?
Sometimes rice, sometimes fufu, and last minute then we take with yam.
Okay. When you're eating it with yam, the Fantis call it abenkwa. Anyway.
Yeah. So what I want to understand is that if I'm taking it for about 4 or 5 days, consistently putting in the fridge, removing, heating, will I still get the nutrient in it?
Good question. Thank you so much, Bernard. Thank you.
That's a really good question. And I think it touches a little bit on food safety as well. So a better option would be to actually portion it in different containers so that you're not reheating the whole thing over and over again.
Yeah. Even tastes better. Okay. So you should be able to portion your food in smaller portions and put in the fridge or freezer.
So freezer could be a better option because of the number of days he mentioned. So have some, for that day, you prepare it, then put the rest in the freezer. When you're ready to have that one, you put it in the fridge to defrost, but put it in smaller containers.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have to take your final words, but in your final submission, please end on the keto and then also end on the timing of eating. The number of times you should eat in a day. Please put all of that together.
Okay, sure. So going back to what I was saying, so when I was in school to become a dietitian, we were taught, eat smaller meals throughout the day. But now that I'm practicing, I'm like, that doesn't really work for a lot of people. So it goes back to what we were talking about when we first started our conversation about being intentional. Are you actually hungry? Like, when are you hungry? And this kind of summarizes our whole conversation, because even going back to the piece around emotional eating, sometimes you're emotional eating, you're not hungry. Like, when you really think about it, you're not hungry.
Sure.
You just want to satisfy that emotional need. So when it comes to the timing on eating, you definitely want to have something after a long period of time. But if you're not very hungry, I think forcing yourself to eat is not a good option and it's not sustainable, but maybe have something small to tide you over. But when you are hungry, opt for something that's very, nutritious and balanced. So the timing, it really depends, and I think there's still some research to explore that further, but really be intentional about how you're eating.
All right, thank you. Are you on social media?
I am.
I can't reach you in Canada, but I can reach you on social media. All right, so share your social media handles.
So I'm Rosie Mensah, so RosieMensah, everywhere. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and my website is rosiemensah.com. So you can find me there.
Thank you for coming. When are you returning?
Whenever you'd like to have me.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on Good Living. Kobe is here, so do stay.